Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably know that I've been in the beginnings of a series, if that makes sense, in which I am doing what I call 2 layers of practice. Yeah, and this is the 4th video I have done in this new series, and I'm continuing to use the same decks. But first let me explain what I'm doing. Yeah, so what I'm going to do for the foreseeable future is I am limiting myself to a very small spread. If you know me, you know I'm go big or go home. Yeah, I like laying a lot of cards on the table. But for the interests of my own focus of learning a new way of reading tarot with a new pattern of esoteric associations, I'm limiting myself to 3 cards and an oracle card per spread. Yes? So I think this is of benefit for both you and I hope you think so. If you do think so, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see me go into larger spreads soon or in the near future, let me know in the comments below. I'm very happy to take suggestions. But what I'm doing is I lay down a smallish spread of 3 cards plus an oracle, and I read that spread in 2 different ways for the same question. The first way I read the spread is basically the way I would coach my tarot mentees when we are practicing and learning tarot. Yes? Which is perfectly valid, and I have nothing against that. And I would lean into that way of reading cards first. I would first look in that direction. And then the second layer that I will read the spread in is a more esoteric, more astrology-based layer. So we're going to go through this cards 2 different ways. Yeah, and you can see how my mind works when I'm looking at cards, and maybe you can get some ideas or some different perspectives on how to read a spread. Yeah? So, the 2 decks I am using, I will talk to you about in just a moment, and I'll show you the spread in just a moment. But first, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for doing all of those things that you do. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. All of those things that you do. Tell YouTube to show our channel, yes, I said our channel, to other people, and our community grows because of you. So thank you for doing those things. Also, thank you for commenting in the comment sections. I really do appreciate hearing from you. And I know sometimes I don't get the notification that there has been a comment, and I might end up not seeing it for a few days, but I will always respond. Yes? Remember, there's also a time difference. I am in South Korea. You probably are not. So there's a time difference there too, just so you know. But thank you. Thank you for doing all those things you do. You are wonderful. Yes, what are we doing? We're here to look at a spread, not to hear me talk about thank yous. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the spread. I am also going to show you a comparison of 2 different decks. Why? So, okay, full disclosure, the decks I'm using. For the primary spread, I'm using an oracle called the Morning Calm Oracle, which was created by a Korean-American creator who is also a shaman. I think she lives in New York, I might be wrong. Beautiful deck, beautiful oracle, full of Korean culture, which thrills me no end. Yes? And I'm also using, as a companion tarot deck, the Beautiful Korea Tarot. Now, that Beautiful Korea Tarot, if you're interested in getting that deck, I can help you. It's only available here in South Korea through bookstores that unless you speak Korean, it might be difficult for you to order. I can help you order. I've helped several people order this deck from Korea. And if you want to get it, I suggest getting it soon because who knows when it's going to go out of print again. It seemed to be out of print a couple of years ago, but I guess they found extra copies and it's back on sale. So we'll see how that goes. Now, because this deck is a little challenging to find, I've got also the Tarot of the Old Path, which frankly was the template for the Beautiful Korea Tarot. Yeah? Now, they did make changes in the art. They redrew the art, but they did make changes in the art to fit the Korean culture better. But in essence, most of the cards are very, very similar. And you'll see what I mean when we look at the cards together. Yes? So I'm going to show you again the spread. Then I will show you an image of the Beautiful Korea Tarot and the Tarot of the Old Path together so you can see a comparison. And then we will launch into reading the spread. Are you all ready, friends? So, here we go. Here is this week's spread. Friends, what do you think of these cards? Beautiful, yes? Do you agree? I think they're just gorgeous. And we got a very interesting spread, yes? First, let's dive into the Oracle card. Now, before I laid the spread, you should know what I do is, in this case, I ask the question that I ask in almost all of the spreads I do here on the channel, which is, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? So I asked that question to the Oracle card and got this answer here. And then later what I did was I used the information I got from this Oracle card to ask another question that was answered by the Tarot. You get that, right? So, how do we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? This was the answer. This is called goblin play in the Tarot deck. I'm sorry, in the Oracle deck. However, let's get some more information about this because it is a culturally divergent or culturally different image for probably most people who are watching this channel. So goblin play in English, it shows us a picture of what is called dokgebi. Dokgebi. Yeah? Now, if you are a fan of Korean culture and you like not only K-pop, but maybe even the TV series that come series that come out of Korea, you might also know that there was not exactly a sitcom, but there was a mini-series, extended mini-series called Dokgebi. The title was different from Goblin, but it was very popular. And the character in Dokgebi is very handsome and does not look anything like this, right? So, who is this? Well, Dokgebi are generally considered harmless and mischievous spirits. They were never human. They are on the level of shin, so they're guishin, which can be translated to ghost or spirit. Yeah, they're a kind of spirit, never human, and they, in some traditions, play harmless tricks on human beings. They play pranks on people. They will also stop wayfarers, people going on the roads traveling, especially on foot, and challenge them to siram, which is a Korean style of wrestling similar actually to Turkish wrestling, except without the oil. You don't lather yourself up in oil in Korea, but it's a very similar kind of wrestling style called siram. Just so if they win, they can pass on, right? So pranksters, teasers. They, according to some of the traditions, they have immense supernatural powers. They can bring good harvests. They can bring big catches of fish. Korea is a peninsula, so the consumption of fish is important here. And they can also bring good fortune to humans. Now, they can bring good stuff to us. They can also defend against other other spirits which are evil. And some of the tradition is regional. I don't know if you know this, but Korea was not always a unified country. Yeah, in the long past, it was divided up into 6 kingdoms, or 3 kingdoms is the most common notion of ancient Korea. And it was unified into a unified Shilla. Well, it was unified into a unified Koryo, and then it was Shilla, and then it was Joseon, and there were times when it would break up again and then it would reunite. So it's a very interesting, not nearly as complicated as China, but still a very interesting history here. Be that as it may, there are very regional, even though it's a small area, very regional traditions, regional legends, regional perspectives on who some of these supernatural beings are. So, Dokkaebi in some areas is actually the spirit that brings good luck to people. In some areas, they're thought to cause bad luck. And maybe they'll bring fires, or they'll bring contagious diseases. In Jeju Island, Jeju-do in Korean, they were thought to actually be the bringers of mental illness. So there's a kut, a shamanistic ritual to drive the dokkaebi, the dokkaebi spirit, away to cure mental illness. So really, there's a broad variety of traditions surrounding the dokkaebi. And I have a dokkaebi tile somewhere in my house. I got it way back in around 2002, I think, when Gyeongju, one of my favorite cities in South Korea. I love Gyeongju. It's a very historical city. It was the ancient capital of the Shilla dynasty, and there was a millennium festival there when I came back to Korea, and so they were selling different things like the Millennium Smile tile, and one of the things they also sold was a dokkaebi tile. And that's where most people would have recognized the dokkaebi image in 100 or 200 years ago or earlier Korea. Yes? And so I'll have an image up here of that style of tile, a roof tile. But, so, what does it mean as an oracle? I mean, this is all really interesting, right? But as an oracle, the creator of this deck really focused on the positive aspects of dokkaebi. Yes? And so, the creator of this card called it Goblin Play, which isn't, according to this creator, telling us that we have to be careful that we're going to be screwed with by the spirits. Sorry, I just dropped a crystal on the floor. We're not, and maybe we are here to be screwed with by the spirits, but the creator of the oracle reminds us that this is a time to be playful. We're being asked to channel more playful, fun energy into our lives. Yes? The creator suggests that too much seriousness and strife can backfire on us and perhaps even block manifestation of the lives we want to create, the intentional lives that we want to live. Remember the question, how can we live more intentionally in the coming week? Well, if we're not engaging our funny bone, or if we're not enjoying playtime, then we could be blocking our progress in living intentionally. And the Creator suggests that when we are feeling stuck, mired down, we could try more free-spirited, light-hearted, playful energy in our lives. Deliberately, yes? Deliberately adding more play, fun, free-spirited attitudes in our daily practices, in our daily activities in life. Playing while cleaning the house. Have you ever done that? Have you ever allowed yourself to play while cleaning? I have not done that as much as I wish I could, but I have done that in the past. I had a friend come over and we had a cleaning party. And we turned on music, we danced, we had fun. It was a great joy. And that was the first time I recognized that even something as irritating for me as cleaning can become a joyful experience. Now, quoting from the guidebook, the creator of this deck suggests that we have this affirmation for ourselves. I am free, playful, and light. I manifest easily and powerfully. Let me say that again. I am free, playful, and light. I manifest easily and powerfully. That makes good sense for the idea of goblin play, right? Of being playful, allowing ourselves to feel like the free spirit that the Dokgebi is, yes? So, looking at this card, I can see how that implies for me. Can you see how that applies perhaps for you in your life? Can you see how we have the potential, especially in these days, especially with world conditions the way that they are, and they seem to be getting more serious by the moment, how we might be inclined to things that are not able to allow ourselves the space for play and lightheartedness. That we feel like we have to take this all very seriously, that it's that everything in life right now is serious business, that we have to protect ourselves, we have to protect our families, we have to be careful. We have to be careful with money. The prices of things are going up. The prices of gas might be going up, other fuels. And that doesn't only affect our movement in our own vehicles, but it also affects things like shipping and travel and other things as well, right? So maybe we're overwhelmed by worries, concerns, the need to be serious adults in this current system, economy, world situation, etc. This card is telling us to, okay, we don't want to pretend like there are no problems, right? This isn't saying to, fun wash your lives, but to find as many opportunities to lighten up and play within our daily lives. Does that make sense? And that might be the title of this video, Lighten Up and Play, maybe. Might also be goblin play. I'll figure that out later. Okay, so if you think you had a better title for this video, let me know in the comments below. I have no idea what the title is going to be yet, but if you think your idea is better, I want to learn. What kind of title do you like? Anyways, so playful spirit. So what question did I ask from this oracle card? Well, the one I asked was, in what aspect of life would it benefit us to be playful? Yes? In what aspect of life would it benefit us to be playful? And we got these cards. So, right now you see on the top the beautiful Kriya Tarot, and on the bottom the Tarot of the Old Path. Yes? From now on, I will, for the rest of this section, I'm just going to say the cards on the top and the cards on the bottom. Okay? Okay, so the cards, you can see that they're very similar, right? Especially the 10 of rods. Actually, they're both the 10 of rods instead of wands on the left-hand side. Yes, the 10 of rods. Very, very similar. The clothes are different, but, you know, there are the 2 sticks in front. There are 2 sticks on the bottom, and there are a bunch of sticks on the back. How many sticks are there? So there are 2 sticks in the man's hand. They're both male figures. There are 2 sticks on the shoulders. That's 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 sticks kind of on his back. And there are 2 sticks on the ground. Both in both decks, right? That's very, very same. The 6 of Swords. We saw this 6 of Swords last week, right? They're very, very different. One of them is walking over an island, over rocks toward an island. And you can see hands coming up out of the water, making me think of the Lady of the Lake from the Arthur legend, raising Excalibur, although those can't all be Excalibur, I don't think. If you think there could be a lot of Excaliburs, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to learn. But to me, so the Lady of the Lakes, the ladies of the lake, holding up swords, and then the person crossing the water is carrying 2. But this person is crossing on foot. The deck on the top, right, the beautiful Korea Tarot, is similar to the smith-waite, where we're actually on a boat. We've got 5 swords stuck in the boat, but instead of it being 6 swords, the 6th sword in this card is being held by the man standing on the boat. Now, we don't have the ferryman, we don't have the 2 figures sitting in the boat like we do in the smith-waite decks, but it's very similar, right? Now, the aces of wands, the aces of rods in these decks are very, very similar with each other. We see that there's a bright sun in the background, right? We see that there is a wooden thing stuck in the ground. We see that that wooden thing has wheat around it, which is interesting. And we also see that there is a butterfly flying by that wooden thing. Now, what's in the background? In the deck on the bottom, the Tarot of the Old Path, we see what looks like Stonehenge in the background, which is interesting. In the beautiful Korea Tarot, we have, I think, what looks like... I think that's a village in the background, with maybe straw-roofed homes. Shaped in circles, yeah, with a straw roof. And I'll talk about what that thing is later. But I just wanted to show you how similar those 2 decks are, except again for that 6 of Swords, the 6 of Swords. Okay, so if I were to be reading the Ace of Rods from the Tarot of the Old Path, let me hold this up for myself. How would I read that differently? Well, that Stonehenge thing in the background does catch my eye, and I might lean into something about Druid tradition, ancient spirits. There's also the idea of the calendar and cycles that would be included with Stonehenge. And since this isn't actually the deck that we're using, I'm just showing it for comparison, I'm not sure where that would have taken the reading of this spread with the Tarot of the Old Path. But I do see what I see from the beautiful Korea Tarot. So let's focus on that one. Here it is for you to focus on. Now, how are we going to read this spread? Okay, so this is not a positional spread, which means that I'm not reading these 3 cards as, for example, situation challenge, advice, or what I think, what he thinks, and mediation, for example, or what past, present, future, right? These are not positionally read. This is not a positionally read spread. So, what are we going to do? Because it's not positional, we can read this spread in several ways. We could read from left to right. We can read from right to left. We can read the two outer cards going into the center. We can read the center card splitting out to the sides. We can read two cards together with a result, or two cards together with a result. There are many ways to read this kind of a 3-card spread, and I would usually go by visual cues. For example, where are people facing? In this case, actually, everybody seems to be facing from left to right in at least a little bit, right? I mean, the wooden figure in the Ace of Rods on the right, is kind of looking to the left, but the other two figures are looking to the right. So I think that's the direction I'm first inclined to read the spread. But then there's also the meaning, right? What was the question? The question was, in what aspect of life would it benefit us to be playful? And the first part of that answer seems to really land in the Ten of Rods, right? Do you see that? So what do we see in this Ten of Rods? We see this guy with a bunch of sticks that he doesn't really seem to know how to manage easily, which is different from the smith-waite cards, right? Remember the smith-waite image where we've got the one guy with 10 big old sticks tied together on his back, and he's headed forward towards his home or his village, right? So there's that idea of burden being carried, but with difficulty, with effort. Here in this card, this guy's not managing well at all, right? He's got, do you see the rack on his back? Oh, that is one difference. I hadn't noticed until just now. The card in the Tarot of the Old Path, he doesn't have that rack on his back. This rack on the back of the man in the Ten of Rods from the beautiful Korea Tarot, that is a traditional, I want to say it's a kind of traditional backpack. Well, it's a traditional rack that you wore on your back to haul, especially wood, back to your home to light your fire and keep your fire going, yes? So, he's got that rack on his back, and really what he should probably do is take that off, set it against a stone of some sort, load the rack up with the sticks he wants to carry, and then put it back on his back, and he'll be able to carry it much more easily. Right now, he's trying to juggle all of those sticks, and it's really not looking like it's working very well, right? So I think this card points a little bit beyond just a burden to having difficulty managing all the stuff we are trying to do. Yes, not so much all of the, it could be all of the daily tasks that we have to take care of, but all of the projects, all of the work, all of the stuff that we are investing our energy in. Yeah, all of the stuff that we are investing our energy in we're not managing them and the energy very well. Yes, it's not organized, it's not well placed, and it can become very overwhelming. Instead of burden, what I see here is overwhelm. Overwhelmed with all this stuff that I don't know how to organize and get through it, yeah? Does that make sense? Do you see that? And so, the next card would be the Six of Swords, which is what? Okay, so move on, right? We get in our boat with our ideas and we move on to perhaps smoother water. To perhaps that island we see in the distance that has a lot of trees on it. Yeah, maybe we don't have to carry all of those sticks with us now. Or maybe we've organized those sticks into the boat that will carry us farther, carry us forward. Yeah, that's what happened. I got farther and forward, and I tried to make one word out of them, I think. But to carry us farther and forward. And where are we headed? We head to a new inspiration. Now let's look at this thing here. What is this thing? Maybe you're not familiar with it. So, when I think of this thing on my own, for myself, I think of it as a totem. It's not really a totem, but I think of it as a totem, a Korean totem. What it is it's a pole that is set at the entrance to a village. Usually there are two of them. Often there's a male and a female figure, but not always. So they're at the entrance to the village, and they're usually made of wood, but sometimes made of stone. Especially when we go to Jeju Island, they're called, what are they called? They're called harubang. Yeah, they're dol harubang. They're stone, pumice stone, volcanic rock. Yeah, pumice grandfathers. Yeah? But this is not. This is different. Yeah, this is made out of wood. These are there. Sometimes there are also something called sotte, which are a thinner stick, just a plain stick with a duck shape on the top. And that's a whole different conversation about perhaps even people who migrated to Korea from Lake Baikal in Siberia, Mongolia area. Anyways, so let's focus on this one. So they're at the entrances, and often they're carved with titles like "The Great General Under the Heaven" would be one translation. Yeah. So they're there. Why? They're there. Oh, what are they called? I'm sorry. They're called Jangseung. Yeah, they're called Jangseung, and they are to protect the village from bad spirits. They're there to mark the boundaries of the village. They're there as road signs as well. And they are also, again, the spiritual guardians against things like illness and misfortune and bad spirits, which are clearly the carriers of both misfortune and disease. Right? They're protective. So, we got that protective spirit here in our card of destination. This is the direction we're moving into, right? With a butterfly, with a beneficent spirit, perhaps, or the soul, or new beauty fluttering around our protective Jangseung, our protective totem, with the village in the background, and the sun shining brightly, and very few clouds, and those clouds that are there are white, right? They're pure, they're light, they're fluffy, they're beautiful. So we're moving in the direction of, and generally what do we think of the Ace of Wands or the Ace of Rods? It's an inspiration of something that is beginning. It may, or it will need to be nurtured, like that wheat down there needs to be nurtured so that it will grow to ripen for harvest or for fulfillment. And it is perhaps not only protective, but it is sustaining. This new inspiration. So what aspect of life would it benefit us to be playful in? Well, it's when we feel this overwhelm of burdens and too much stuff for us to handle, right? And so we might want to engage some playful ways of organizing these things that we think that we have to take care of, so we can move forward into a fresh feeling of inspiration, or what do we call that? The Knight of Wands. When we think of the Knight of Wands, he is not only inspired, he is what is that word? It starts with an I. You can write in the comments below if you want. It is okay, anyways. So impulse, yes. So we might be arriving at inspiration or some kind of a beneficial impulse. Yes? That is fertile, that is safe, that is bright. But in order to get there, we want to engage playfulness and allow ourselves this free spirit. Which also means maybe moving on, moving forward. Maybe doing some organization so that we can feel we have the space mentally. Not necessarily physically, but that it's a Six of Swords card, right? So we have the space mentally to move on. Yes? Does that make sense? And then we can feel inspired. Then we can feel that impulse that will perhaps want to be nurtured, but it could be an impulse to further play, to further feelings of freedom, to re-engaged passions and re-engaged libido, in the sense of energy to be able to want to do the work and do the stuff that we want to do. And that stuff could include cleaning the house. And that stuff could include paying the bills. It could include taking care of elderly parents, for example. Yes? But with play, with fun, we could get more energy. That burst of energy that is also indicated with the Ace of Rods. Yes? Okay, friends, are you ready? We're going to move on into esoterica, and we're going to keep the same pattern of reading. Yes, we'll read from left to right in the same order. We're still starting off with the Ten of Wands. For me, the tens in Tarot are... okay, so remember, I'm reading differently from the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn sets the aces apart. For me, I am not setting the aces apart, I am setting the tens apart as a kind of combination of both a surfeit of pressure within that element, whatever else suit it is, fire, water, air, earth, right? Or the border to a liminal space to move on to the next cycle. Yes? Which is sort of the way that I had learned to read Tarot de Marseille. So we start off with this 10, which is the pressure cooker, right? And also the border of a liminal space before the next cycle. In the suit of fire. So here, the wands, the rods are our willpower, right? Our will is fully engaged now. Our energy is everywhere all at once, but that's not a comfortable position to be in. Yeah? Imagine being in the middle of a pressure cooker and you are the fire inside of that, and all of your fire is going up against the container that you're in, and it's does that make sense? So we have pressure to either release or to rest or to collapse, right? So collapse does not seem like the best choice. Release could be a good choice, but we might not feel that we have the opportunity or the possibility of release yet. Because we're here in the 10, right? We haven't moved on. So we might need to take a break. We might need to rest. We might need to stop pushing so hard. Because rather than being in burden, now we are in thermal overload. Yeah? There's too much energy here. And so, because this card is upright, the question I might ask is, what energetic load is so full it must change? Somehow it must change. And so when we recognize that thermodynamic load in our lives, that's where we can engage play, right? That Dokebi card, the goblin play card. And so we move into the Six of Swords. And what is that? Okay, we talked about this last week, but you might be new to this. So for me, the Six of Swords is the second decan of the fixed air sign. Yes, so 1, 2, and 3 are cardinal for me. I'm sorry, it's not the second, it's the third. So it's the third decan of the air sign. So 1, 2, 3 are cardinal. 4, 5, 6 are fixed. 7, 8, 9 are mutable. So 6 is the last decan of fixed air, which is Aquarius. So this decan is keyed to Libra. Yes, it is the cardinal aspect of fixed air's vital attributes entering our natal charts, entering our spread here, entering our reading. Now we have the cardinal aspect of fixed air. So we have Venus, the ruler of Libra, which is cardinal air, right? We have Venus in Aquarius. And Venus in the sign of Aquarius ruled by Saturn could be a little bit uncomfortable. But she pretty, right? She can seduce anybody. So what do we get? Well, Saturn is order. Venus is not so much into order all that much. So, orderly transition might be a key word to this. Orderly transition. Yeah? So remember, we had all of this stuff in the 10 of Wands. And so the Six of Swords is perhaps asking us to find some order so that we can find space for this playfulness, right? There's a Venus in Aquarius, there's a strong desire to achieve worthwhile activities. They could be scientific, they could be social. Venus is all about the social, right? It could be humanitarian, taking care of other people. Or they could be organizational goals, right? Putting things in their correct boxes. Getting our sticks in a line so that we can carry them. Like that guy in the 10 of Rods, the sticks are just everywhere. Getting them on the back so that we have the space to play. So we can maybe dance as we move our sticks forward. The Venus in Aquarius has an interest in psychology, perhaps, sociology, human relations, right? Where we want our relationships to be in some kind of beauty and order. There's extreme loyalty here and a feeling of responsibility, which could start moving us towards the burdensome aspect of the Ten of Rods. So that's something to be careful of. We want to be loyal and responsible, but we don't need to be extremely loyal and extremely responsible because we want to have room for play. Because association is important for Venus in Aquarius, right? Aquarius can be a little standoffish, can be a little reserved. Well, friends, yeah, but we're not going to get too close. But Venus wants to get close, wants to be in relationship. So she has the qualities of a diplomat here. Yeah, there might be genius, there might be eccentricity, there might be nervousness here because all this order might get Venus feeling a little bit, I don't know about this, yeah? So the question I might ask of this card when it's upright is, how can clarity or coherence be restored? Which is actually very similar to the way I read this spread when I was just looking at pictures and traditional images, right? And I'm sorry, there's some weird noise going on outside. I hope it's not too distracting for you. But let's keep going. Now, because we have the third decan of Aquarius, we have an exaltation. Now, so we have the planet Saturn, which rules Aquarius, in its exaltation, which is what? It is Libra, right? Which is the domicile of Venus. So we had Venus in Saturn's sign of Aquarius, and we also now have Saturn in Venus's sign of Libra. So there's a give and take here. They're sharing space. And when Saturn goes into Libra, yeah, order can be restored through balance. And you look at this guy with the sticks and wanting to put them on, perhaps benefiting from putting them on the rack, that will include a need for balance, right? Our thoughts are reorganized because Libra sometimes has a hard time making decisions, trying to make sure everybody's happy. So there's Saturn here saying, okay, we can still organize this stuff, these ideas, these thoughts. And we can transition with structure. The structure of a boat, for example, but we can order ourselves. Not order, do this, but organize ourselves, order ourselves, so that we can move forward with a framework, with boundaries, with a good structure. And we can resolve our mental strife through fairness, being fair to ourselves and others. And if we do that, we can maybe find some more space for some playfulness, right? And so we move into let's see, that's on the left for you. For you, that would be over here, right? The Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace of Wands for me, like I said, 1, 2, 3, Ace, 2, 3, they are cardinal. So Ace is the first decan of cardinal fire, which would be just that sign and that planet. So cardinal fire is Aries, which is ruled by Mars. It's the domicile of Mars. And so we have cardinal fire's vital attributes entering our spreads here. Yes, and I hope that noise isn't bothering you. I don't know what they're doing out there. But we have cardinal fire's vital attributes entering our spread. So, upright, we can think of things like the spark ignites. Remember, Aries is the first sign of the zodiacal year. It is the ego, it is us as brand new spirits entering the world and with our fire of spirit and saying, yes, this is where I am, and come look at me and I'm gonna do stuff, right? It's that first decan of that first entrance into the world. So what is that? It's also a highly competitive dance for Aries, yeah? And it's action-oriented. I've come here to do. I'm no longer just spirit. I'm a spirit in a body, and I'm going to do. Yes? So there's a pioneering aspect here, which could be that free-spirited idea. Yeah? Action is important. But not, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. This is a inspired, impulse-driven action in the world. And that action could be fun, it could be playful, it could be experimental, it could be energizing as well as the use of energy. Something to remember with cardinal fire is that things started are not always finished. Yeah? Somebody who is very heavily Aries will oftentimes start a lot of things and finish few. Yes? So, that's something to remember. We start things, but we might not be able to finish them. So just be aware of it. So maybe we don't want to get attached to goals, but rather get inspired by the beginning to help us re-energize ourselves. Yes? And not telling everybody, I'm going to make this brilliant website and I'm going to sell millions of dollars, but rather get us, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to make a website. I don't know what it will be, but I'm going to make this, I'm going to have fun making this website. I'm going to have fun cleaning the house. I'm going to have fun starting this project. Will it finish? I don't know. It's not important. I'm going to have fun doing this. Yes? And we want to be careful that maybe we feel like we have to prove ourselves, but this is not the time for proving ourselves by our actions. It's a time for enjoying ourselves. So that's a potential downfall for that Ace of Rods. Be courageous, yes? We can make a new start at any time. We can be the initiators. With fun, with playfulness, with our free spirit. And upright, when this card is upright, I might want to ask what impulse or desire is trying to begin. Yeah? And think of that butterfly flitting around, right? Butterflies, like the ship of the Six of Swords, don't go from here to there directly. They enjoy their journey from place to place, right? And land on places to say, oh, what's here? Yes? So where that, the Jangseung, the Korean totem-like thing, seems rather rigid and it's stuck in place, we can be the butterfly spirit. Yes? Feeling protected by this totem. Now, Mars, when it is in its domicile, I almost said he, and I don't want to say he, even though Mars does exude masculine energy, but I don't want to he, she Mars, right? Because we all have qualities of Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, the moon, the sun, all of that, right? We are in this universe, in this solar system, with these powerful influences of all of these powerful heavenly lights. So again, Mars in its domicile is a clean ignition. It's that we lit the flame of our lighter, right? It's clean, one stroke and it's lit. There's pure initiative here. It's not cluttered by results or by what ifs or other people's thoughts about our decision to start something. It's a creative spark. It's here to create, not to destroy. It's the first motion forward. And our will knows where it wants to go, and that might change in the future, but right now it knows the direction it wants to go. It could veer off, that's okay. We can play with this, right? And that's the whole point of this spread, that we can play with this. Once we created space, I think, we can play with these impulses and enjoy the impulse and play with the impulse that we get once we have space. That might be play with the impulse. I don't know. I really am. I'm batting ideas around for titles for this spread, but that makes sense, does it not? How would you read this spread? What comes to your mind? If you were to do a quick reading for somebody else with this spread, with the same questions, right? What were the questions? The first one was, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? The second question after the oracle card was, in what aspect of life would it benefit us to be playful? How would you read this spread for those questions? I'd love to hear from you. And friends, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you want a reading from me, let me know. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.